Hi there, and welcome to session 5 of the AI technical training. The keen-eyed amongst you will probably notice I'm in a slightly different locale at the moment. I'm actually near Alicante in the south of Spain. It's pitch black outside, it's coming up to midnight, so I guess buenas noches to any of our Spanish customers who may be watching. Not that you'll be watching live, I guess, but good to meet you anyway. Looking forward to running through this session with you, where we'll be focusing on using no code or as little code as possible to create essentially an MVP of your AI app. So this is when you've got your idea, you want to do a very, very simple initial version to test the concept before you spend the big bucks on actually developing the software or paying for a software development agency to create your AI app for you. What would normally happen with this previously, for non-SaaS-based products, is you might create a nice landing page and you might do a sign-up to kind of judge the interest in the concept before you actually launch the concept. But the good thing with AI apps is you can quite easily actually do a basic version or an MVP version of it that actually is at least semi-functional. It has some of the functionality that you're looking at, so you can get instant feedback from customers to see what their interest is, and then decide whether or not you want to take it any further, or if you then want to pivot onto something different. So I saw that Dave did a very good run through of a similar concept on the live call on Tuesday, so I'll try to approach this from a slightly different angle so that you're not getting an exact repeat of what Dave did. Hopefully you'll find the two sort of slightly different approaches useful, and it's always good to have sort of more than one source for this kind of thing, because you'll probably learn something slightly different in each one. Okay, so what are we actually doing? Let me just shrink myself down. Okay, so Dave used Zapier to put together his test application. I thought I'd try something slightly different. This is called Gumloop. This is something that I literally just came across in the course of doing the research for this video. Not used it before, so it'll be interesting to see kind of how this works throughout the course of the video. This is kind of similar to Zapier, except it doesn't actually focus too much on having a really wide range of integrations. So it doesn't integrate with hundreds or thousands of other systems. Instead, it kind of focuses on data processing and AI tools and techniques. So the way that we're going to use it is just to test out some of those AI tools. So essentially, it's a workflow platform. So similar to Zapier, similar to Make.com, and all of the other workflow automation platforms that are out there, but with a slight more AI focus. It's quite a new platform. If I click into the release notes here, you can kind of see that it was only launched last year in July, so it's obviously going to improve significantly over time. I just thought, let's try something different. Let's see what we can get this to do. All right, so I'm going to go back into what they call the hub, which is the home screen, and you can follow along with the workflow automation software that you're interested in as well. So I'm going to start completely from scratch. There are templates. So we have sales forecasting, use AI to analyze sales data and generate forecasts, create a product ad based on image, sales lead scoring. There's kind of interesting stuff on here. There's something that I thought was quite cool actually, which is an inbox summarizer, which will go through all of your emails for that day, or the unread emails in your Gmail inbox, and we'll create a summary and then kind of outline the emails that you probably want to read, and then not tell you about the ones that you're not interested in. So you've got some kind of cookbook options here, most of which use AI to, you've got a type form scorer. So, you could then qualify leads using AI based on the responses on the type form. So you've got some pretty cool tools on here, but let's try creating something from scratch. So very, very simple use case. I want to allow the user to provide the URL of a YouTube video, and then the AI is going to go away and provide them with a summary of it. Pretty simple. Let's see how that might look. So I'm going to call it AI video summarizer, and we have this daunting empty canvas here. So let's start putting some stuff into it. So add your first node. Okay, so we have this wealth of options here. So we can get information from a load of places. So this is like the input part of it. So we can read files, so we can get the user can upload a PDF, CSV, a text file, an Excel document, or whatever else, and it will read that and it will extract all of the text from it. They can even provide a zip file, and it will basically recursively go through and pull out the content from all of the files that are in the zip file. You can get information from Google Drive, Google Sheets. I mean, this is kind of a data scientist's dream. There's a lot of input modules here. Get information from a website. Get information from a website in a way that websites that don't like being scraped can also be scraped, which is pretty cool. Goes all the way through a whole website, so it's not just one page. It just spiders the whole website. Hacker News, you can read this yourself. You can take a look through, but there is a lot of input sections here, which is pretty neat. But we don't want to get that information from a particular file. We just want to get that information essentially from the user. So I'm going to go into core here, and we have this input node here. So I'm going to drag that onto the screen. That's a little big. Let's just zoom out a little bit. Okay, so I want two things from the user. I want the YouTube video URL, and I want their email address. So this one I'm going to call YouTube, and show this as user input. This will show the input. Oops. This will show the input in the user view for end users to input themselves. So they're saying this is something that is kind of manually input, which is what we want. Input type is text. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. I need another input, so let's just drag another one next to it. This I'm going to call email, and again, that's user input. Fine. So there's my two pieces of input, and if I wanted to, I could load a multitude of things. So you can see here I could have a file, which is potentially a flat file. So you can provide your own files here. So if it's a static document that might be tips and tricks for the AI, or background information or knowledge that's going to help your AI in particular, then you can upload files there. Otherwise, you don't need to provide those, but you can combine multiple things together. So you could have 20 inputs plus something from a PDF plus something from Zendesk. So you've got a lot of options, whereas typically a Zap will only have one input, or at least sort of one input module or a trigger. Although you can integrate multiple data sources, this obviously makes this in Gumloop makes that a lot easier to do. All right, what else can we do? Well, we've got this nice using AI section. So we'll come back to this in just a minute. Data modifiers. Now this is where it gets a bit data sciencey. So you've got the option of combining text together, combining lists, flattening lists, working with JSON, CSV, splitting text. So you've got all of this nice stuff here. Chunking text into different characters. So this is a lot more sort of AI and data science oriented than some of the other platforms. Data writers, I assume we'll use later. Oh, cool, you can write to things like Notion. You can store things in AWS. Send a message on Slack. Send an email, we might use that actually. Okay, there's some quite cool things on here. Control flow, so you can branch out in different ways. And nice, you can actually run code, so you can run Python. I know you can do that in Zapier as well. And actually you can run a Zap, so you can actually trigger a Zap through this. Okay, so let's actually find the one we want. Data loaders. Now, conveniently enough, and I did pick this use case for a reason. We've got an option here to go off and get the YouTube transcript. So I'm going to drag that onto the canvas, and it wants the YouTube link that it's going to go away and get the transcript for. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and join this onto here. Done. So rather than that being an unknown value, that is going to go and get the link for the video from the input here. Simple. And then in AI, we should also have, I think I saw it, a summarizer. Summarize large bodies of text using AI. Now what's neat about this is you could just use this Ask AI here. So here's a prompt, and here's the context, and here's the input. But actually the summarizer does something quite unique. So let's just say this YouTube video is like 4 hours long. That's the transcript is probably going to be too big to fit in the context length of some models. So what this will do is it will break it into sections automatically based on the context length of that model, and then say summarize this, and then it will gather all of those summaries together and say, here are the summaries of the different sections, provide me like an over summary, so it will summarize the summaries so that you're not exceeding the context length, and it will manage that process automatically for you. So that's the difference between that and that. But there are some pretty cool ones on here. You've got image generation, text to speech, speech to text. So actually you could potentially read out the transcript, the summary. But all I want to do here is summarize the transcript of the YouTube video. So I'm going to join these two nodes together. Again, sort of pull down from here to here. Show extra settings. Okay, so we can pick a model. Let's just go for the best one. Obviously, you might want to, depending on, if you look back on the other videos where we went through to model selection, then you've got the criteria for how you pick a model. You might want to use that to actually pick the model that you choose. But in this case, I'm just going to go straight for the big one, GPT-4o. And you've got this interesting thing here, which is cache response. So that, let's just say we get the same input into this module. You won't have to pay again for calling the API call. So let's just say you get 50 people and 20 of them pick the same top video, then you're only going to be paying once for that summarization, and it will just use that result rather than calling the AI every time, because the summary is going to be pretty much the same, so you don't have to pay. So why not? Let's cache the response. Now here's the prompt template that we're using. Summarize this in a very concise but informative way. Now, again, you can use the techniques that we spoke about before, how to optimize this prompt, but this I'm just going to leave it as it is. But I would strongly recommend going back to the previous video and picking your prompt very carefully, going through that prompt evaluation process, prompt optimization process, and using the metrics that I showed you last time on how to evaluate prompt models, etc. Because essentially this is your secret sauce. When anyone can kind of throw together a workflow and then sell it as a product, what is going to be unique to you is going to be your choice of model and the prompt that you put into it, plus kind of any other techniques that you use that others can't. But in this case, this is going to be the main one that's going to differentiate you. But for the purposes of this, which is just to demonstrate the workflow, I'm just going to keep it as the default prompt. Okay, what else do we need to do? I guess let's just see what the output looks like. So we can kind of run this. So there's an output module. I'm just going to drag this to this. I'm going to save this using this icon here, and I'm going to open it in what's called user mode, which is basically a basic form with the inputs. So I don't need to actually put email in. It might say I have to, because I'm not doing anything with the email right now, but I am doing something with the YouTube. I'm going to take Dave's great video on the AI videos app, see what the summary we get for that is, put that into here, press run. Okay, so the flow has started. Okay, and here's our output. So the AI videos app generates videos by combining text generation, etc. So that is the output from the run. So this is my AI app, a very basic AI app, but it's for the purposes of showing you the workflow. This is summarizing the YouTube video that I've put in, and there's the output. So what we want to do now is something a little bit more interesting, because we want to get that output to the user. So let's actually email it to them. So I did see an email one. There's a Gmail sender or an Outlook sender, which will connect to your Gmail or Microsoft account and send an email to the user with the outcome of their run. But let's just use this one here, so I don't have to configure anything, which will send it from Gumloop Mail. That's good enough for my test. I would recommend using your actual domain, unless you're a brand new domain, in which case you probably won't hit the inbox, in which case you may want to use this. But if you have any domain authority whatsoever, then I would recommend using your own domain. Okay, let's send the email notification. So I'm going to remove this output block, because the output is the sending of the email. And the email body goes here. And let me just move this input block to here. Even though it's an input block, it doesn't matter if it's halfway down the page. I guess it depends on how you like to organise things in your mind. If you want this to be up here, and then you want this to go there, or if you're okay with things being kind of like this, I think this is better. But obviously, you can just organise. This is your chart, and you can organise it however you like. Email, recipient subject. Here's your summarise video. We don't need to send this HTML. And then I guess you could. Do we have like a static text node? Let's have a look. So what I want to see is. Okay, I'm going to try something here. Let's do combined text. Essentially, what I want to do here is I want to say, hey, this is Matt from AI Summarizer. Thank you for summarizing this YouTube video. Here is your summary. Please fill out this form to tell me how I was doing and if you would use this service again, kind of thing, so you can get some feedback. So to do that, I need to combine some stuff together. Add input. Okay, so we get 3 inputs. So it looks to me like I'm going to need to duplicate an input node or create an input node. Just shove me out of the way. And hey, this is Matt from Super AI Summarizer now. From Super AI Summarizer. Thanks for summarizing a YouTube video. Your summary is below. I'd love to know what you think. Please fill out this type form with your feedback. HTTP fake typeform.com/blah blah. Obviously, you'll put the real type form in there, and I'm going to put some new lines in there. Input name, blurb USA, and I'm going to go put this into here. Is it going to let me? Huh. Yeah. Why not? Output type equals text. It does not seem to want to let me join those together. Why is that? I do like a bit of live debugging. Is it going to let me put this onto here? No. Interesting. Let's remove this again. As I say, I'm brand new to this platform, so I'm learning at the same time that you are. Okay. I guess it was just a dodgy node for some reason. So let's pipe this through to here. Great. Okay. All is good now. It was just a little bit weird. So format. Use this format to combine the input text. So I literally just want to do input 1 and then input 2. Great. And then the body then becomes the combined text, which I join that to there. Okay, it's a little bit mucky now because I've got things crossing over, but you can hopefully see how everything joins. Oh, that looks nicer. Okay, let's save this, and let's do the thing, the preview mode. So email is matt@deal.ai, and let's use this in video. And hopefully I should shortly get an email. Yep. Let's let go. Hey, this is Matt from Super AI Summarizer. Thanks for summarizing the YouTube video. Your summary's below. Love to know what you think. Please fill out this type form. And here's the fake type form. And then here is my AI summary. Easy. Okay, now how do we actually get people to test it? Well, let's try an ultra-fast funnel. So I'm going to create a new ultra-fast funnel on deal.ai. I'm going to create a funnel using AI. Business name. What do I call it? Super AI Summarizer, right? Super AI Summarizer. Okay, Super AI Summarizer is a revolutionary AI tool that allows users to enter a YouTube URL link and produces an instant summary with no need to watch the whole video. Instead, read through a short summary capturing the key points. Okay, great. So next, and let's just pick the default template. And we're off. Okay, I'm going to pause the video here for a moment while the funnel gets created, and I will catch you once it's ready. Okay, so I've got my funnel. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. Don't waste hours watching videos. Instantly get to the point with Super AI Summarizer. Get keys and sites from any YouTube video. Amazing. It looks good. Okay, and obviously what we can do here is we can make this into a purchase form. You can connect Stripe and choose a product for it to link to. So you can make this like a one-time purchase to test out your AI product. Super cheap. Or you can do multiple funnels, kind of like an A/B test where maybe you offer it for free, see if there is actually an interest, gather user feedback through filling out a type form or any kind of sort of feedback summary. Or you can actually sort of try different pricing points and kind of see what the appetite is, see if customers return, etc. Do whatever you want, or you can just make it for free. So let's customize the thank you page. So they've put in their details, or they've gone through and they've paid for the one-time use of the product. So let's actually change this so that it runs the summary funnel, the summary automation rather. So let's edit the page. Okay, thank you. So please enter the link to your YouTube video you want to summarize below, and we'll email you with your summary. Alright, so I need to capture that information. So I'm going to insert a form. So let me find a form field here. Here we go. Let's just add that under the thank you box. Okay, so there's some bits in here that I don't need. So we don't need this. Oh, we do need that. That is the send button. let's not delete that. But this whole section here, that can go. This whole section here, that can go. Let's just make this slightly prettier. You will see that I am very, very much not a graphic designer. But let's just see if we can improve this just slightly. That's size, what, 24? Yeah. Let's do the same thing with this. This is where Dash and team's expertise would be very useful. Those guys produce really good looking funnels. Me, not so much, but let's just power through this just so it looks somewhat approachable. Again, this is all about functionality, so I'm not too worried about the look. But for the sake of it, that will do. Just separate those out. And the send button, let's just do that the same. And let's just give it a bit of margin. Okay, that will do. It doesn't have to be amazing. And then let's give it some info. So what do we want to call this? So this is not name actually. This is URL. And now it's messed up my spacing. That's my margin. Left, sorry. Great. Okay. So I'm going to call this URL. I'm going to call this email just so I can identify it. You'll see in just a moment. And then we've got the send button. Let's call that summarize. Can I change the text on that? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go onto the thank you page. And here's my form. So now I need to hook up this form to the AI video summarizer workflow that I've created. And the way that I do this is using triggers. Now, triggers is a paid feature of Gumloop. There's information on the pricing plan, but you can't externally kick off one of these workflows unless you're on a paid plan, just FYI. So if you wanted to try this, then you could try it with one of the different workflow tools like Zapier, etc., which might allow you to do that. But I just wanted to let you know we're not affiliated with them. I just wanted to check this out because it looked interesting, but you do need to pay if you wanted to kick off from this. But the way that you do that is you go on triggers, go on new triggers, and let's go on to JavaScript because that is the language of the web. And we've got all of the information here. Pipeline inputs. So we've got all of the information here that we now need to kick off this workflow. Now, I did say, if you rewind the video right to the beginning, I said no code or as little code as possible. There will be some code, but we're going to cheat, or actually it's not cheating, we're going to take advantage of the tools that are available to us and get AI to write the code for us. Now, one thing that I will point out is that this does include an API key, which is here. Okay, so you do not want to do this in a production system, because if you include this API key in the source of the HTML file, as we're about to do, that's kind of a big no-no, because people can kind of inspect the source of your page and they can then pull this token out and they could then call these workflows and essentially you would be charged for it rather than them. So the only reason that I'm doing this is for expediency, to kind of show you how you can do this very, very quickly. I'll show you another way in a moment that doesn't involve exposing API keys. I just want to show you a slightly different platform. What you would typically do if you were actually doing this with code in the way that I would recommend doing it is you would have a backend server that actually does this call and speaks to Gumloop, and then your front end will authenticate with your backend server, prove it is who it says it is, and will then run that automation for you on its behalf. That way the user can't actually go away, can't actually see the API key and couldn't maliciously run it. Now, this is slightly different to having an OpenAI API key visible in your front end, because if you had your OpenAI API key, then people could use that for whatever they wanted. So they could call GPT-4 and ask it to do X, Y, and Z. They could call DALL-E and create 1,000 images. It could be potentially catastrophic. The only thing that can be done with this is to run this particular workflow. So somebody could, if they could get hold of this key, they could go off and they could run this YouTube video summarizer 1,000 times, which could be a bit catastrophic. It might not be, but they couldn't go off and just arbitrarily call API models and do things on your behalf, because they are tied down by the workflow automations that you've created. I still don't recommend doing this, but I just wanted to make you aware of the pros and cons. This is very, very quick in terms of creating an MVP or something that you can test out very, very quickly. I would only, if you are going to do it, I would only use it for a very, very quick, very, very short, very, very sharp campaign to test out the viability of your model and the use case that you're putting together. As soon as you've done that, I would then revoke the key and not use it for anything else. So yeah, I know I spent a little bit of time on covering this, but obviously I don't want you guys to get charged for stuff that isn't actually related to the sort of core part of your business by people extracting keys from your page. So that's one of the disadvantages of doing it this way. So that's kind of visible. There are ways of hiding it, and as you get into less no code and into more sort of full code, then the kind of security does increase. Anyway, let's take this. Actually, first, before I do that, let's take a look at the form. So I'm going to right click on the page, I'm going to go inspect, and here is my form. So this is the only code bit that you're going to be exposed to, so hopefully this shouldn't be too hard. So I'm going to right click on the form here, go on copy and press copy element, and I'm going to come into Claude and I'm going to paste it in. literally just paste in the form, and I'm going to tell it what I want it to do. So I have the above form. When the user clicks summarize, I want to permanently disable the summarize button so they can't click it 20 times. So that's just disabled. I then want to make the call detailed below with the form values appropriately substituted in. And then I am going to come back to here and I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to paste this underneath. So this is how to make an API call. So with the form values, and I'll tell it specifically what form values. Form values are email and YouTube URL. And let's see what it does. Hit enter. Here's a JavaScript code. Wonderful. We can ignore the form stuff. I assume that's the same. Yep. IS612. Email IY. Just checking that quickly. That all looks okay. This is the code that we need. So, just to run through this, you don't have to follow this. It's probably correct. The short code generally is. So we're grabbing the form button iuzwu, IUZWU, which is there. That's the button. And whenever it's clicked, we're doing whatever's in here. What we're doing is we're getting the email from the email form, getting the URL from the URL form, and we're also grabbing the button as well. We're disabling the button, and then we're essentially just using the code that we've been provided by Gumloop, but we are substituting in the email input and the URL input in the appropriate places. So let's just take the code from start script to end script, come back into my editor, and I'm going to click on code here, and I'm going to paste that into the body, save the changes, and refresh, close this. Alright, let's try this. So, obviously got page 1 of my funnel. So, hey look, I found this thing on Google, it looks great. YouTube Summarizer, wow, I've always wanted to try it. Let's just test this out. Go on to the next page. Cool, I've paid, or whatever else you want to do. I appreciate it's a little bit redundant getting them to fill their email address in twice, but you can improve the UX of that. Anyway, I've now paid. I'm really excited to get my video summary. So let's paste in the URL here. Okay, I made the text white. My bad, let's fix that. Let's make the text a black color so that we can actually see what it says. I told you I wasn't a designer. Okay, there we go. There's the video, and I am at deal.ai, and I'm going to hit summarize. Okay, the button's disabled. Fingers crossed, this should now be hitting up Gumloop and running that automation. Email can't tick over. Here we go. Hey, this is Matt from Super AI Summarizer. Thanks for summarizing. And here is my video description. Okay, so that is how you can produce a very, very quick, very, very dirty, but informative kind of MVP of your AI app. So you can make these things a lot more complicated. As I sort of showed you at the beginning, we've got loads of templates here. So you can make these as simple or as complicated as you want, and it's a great way of testing your initial version. So we've got like a low-code solution, a no-code solution, and then the step up from that is coding solutions, and there are a few different ways of doing that. There are other low-code builders which focus more on back-end and front-end rather than on the actual definition of the workflow. So there's different tools. You've got tools like bubble.io, etc., Betty Blocks, which is more of an enterprise tool. But you've got all of those kind of known low-code platforms that will allow you to build interfaces, will allow you to build the back ends. And then on top of that, You've then got like the mid-code sections. So Vercel, for example, have got some AI templates that you can use that are scaffolds that fill in most of the information, then you fill in the rest. Those are quite good because they provide things like authorization, authentication, etc., which are big pains to actually create. And then at the full kind of other end of the scale, you have full custom code, which is where you start from scratch. That's the way that we've done things with Deal.ai. We took various different frameworks, JavaScript based and other languages, etc., used those as a starting point and built something completely custom. Obviously there's benefits from doing that in that you can kind of do things that are a lot more complicated than you'll be able to do from low and no code solutions, but the learning curve is significantly steeper. You need an engineering background, or you need to be able to work with an engineering house who will produce that for you. And I know that Alex is going to focus on that in the future videos. So I hope you found this useful. Between this video and the video that Dave produced earlier, that should give you a good overview of how to produce an MVP version of your app. I think there's probably going to be one more session in the technical training. We may do some ad hoc ones in the future, but the sort of 4 sessions previous and this one cover pretty much everything that you need to know so far to get started. And as you actually get started and begin building these things, you'll hone your skills and you'll pick things up that aren't covered in these videos. But this is pretty much everything that you need to start making a go of it. So hope you found the series useful. There should be one more after this, and then if we get any repeated and regular questions, then we can drop some ad hoc ones in. It's been an absolute pleasure sort of going through on this journey, and looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.